old Nintendo gamer.
And son.
What I have been doing is playing Grindstone. I've mentioned this nearly every week that I've since I bought it, and I'm going to talk about it in a little bit more depth. What you can expect from the game if you do purchase it. It's an action puzzler, basically. You look at it from stills and all that, or even if you're watching it from a short video, it seems to be like a match 3 puzzler, that kind of type of puzzler. But once you start playing it, you can realize there's just so much more depth to it in what you can do and manipulate this 7x7 grid, which is situated in the middle of the Switch screen. Plus, it adds all these kind of RPG elements to bulk the game out as well, and I've thoroughly enjoyed what I've played of it so far, and I just put maybe 30-40 minutes in for most nights, before I go to bed, in handheld, because it does seem that it's better situated for handheld, because you can draw different paths on the touchscreen instead of actually using the joystick, which is perfectly fine. Using that kind of analog stick to direct your character around that 7x7 grid is fine, but it is slightly more cumbersome than actually just dragging your finger over the top of it. So this play area, 7x7 grid, is frequented by different coloured, what they called creeps, these little enemies. They got 4 different colours: yellow, green, blue and red. And all you have to do is you normally start in the bottom row. It's a variety of different levels. You start in different places. For the most time, you start in the middle of the bottom row. And then all you have to do is draw a path which links all the same colours together. You're allowed diagonal movements as well, so you could crisscross over certain paths. You could crisscross one way and then crisscross back over over one. But you can't go over the same creep twice. So you're trying to link these creeps together in the longest chain possible, because if you can link over 10 or more, that is, enemies together, they drop after you kill them, because after you press the go button, your hero pulls out his sword and he chops all these creeps in a line into bits of meat, and there's lots of little bits of meat flying everywhere. Makes successful grunting noises. The longer the chain, the more angry and more infuriating your character gets. I think his name is George. I didn't write his name down. It's all kind of Norse mythology and names from that kind of Scandinavian region. And they drop a grindstone. So link 10 or more and you get a grindstone, the name of the game. Link even more together and you get a bigger grindstone. So they only ever drop 1 grindstone for linking 10 or more. But by then creating a path through, say, 10 red ones and then touching the grindstone, you can then change colour. So what you're trying to do is balance between linking 10 together, getting maybe 3 or 4 grindstones onto this grid, and then you can do an almighty link by linking the colours, the grindstone, changing colour, onto the next colour, onto the next grindstone, onto the next colour, onto the next enemy, and having these like 40, 50 hits in a row, which then gives you more bonuses for this kind of RPG. Now, as the levels, it starts off easy and gives you the basics and all that, but as you progress throughout the entirety of the map, they start adding, obviously, different enemies. And these enemies, like I said, creeps, they just take 1 hit, you just walk through them. But then maybe skeletons start appear and they've got a number 5 on them. So that means that you have to link a 5-hit combo and power yourself up by 5 before you can defeat this enemy. So you're always thinking about where I can link together to, right, I need to link back around and loop around to hit this 5 enemy. And then later on, it's got beehives, or bat hives rather. And the bats come out and they attack in lines. So enemies start attacking you. And they've got a 10 hit. So you've got to link 10 things together, get into the bat hive. The bat hive then drops this bat, which then attacks in circles. So you've got to keep your distance from them while planning out how many hits you have to have before hitting that enemy. And then each enemy you defeat drops some sort of material. Then obstacles are shown, like bits of wood, falling ice blocks, boulders, enemy spawners, unbreakable boulders. They're all there to limit your path through and defeat these slightly tougher guys. It does really make you think, especially when you got 3 hearts to start each level. At least you got 3 hearts. You can upgrade your hearts. You can't get more hearts, but you can buy more hearts if you take a hit from an enemy. You lose 1 heart, and you lose that permanently unless you spend your grindstones that you've basically collected to get more hearts again. So you start off with 3 hearts, and as you spend more time in a single level, even the little enemies start getting irritated and getting angry, which indicated by there's a flame effect around them. Now, if you end your line, your run, or your chain next to one of those enemies, on their turn, which is next, they will attack you and hit you, and you lose a heart. It's then with these kind of RPG elements, you can gain swords, shields, potions, and arrows, which can, like a shield, for example, your weakest shield, you can play the shield before you chain the enemies together. Then at the end of your move, you put your shield up, and if you are going to get hit by one of these enemies, the shield will obviously deflect that. But there's clothes you can have as well, which give you buffs in game, like dropping more materials or random luck defense chances. There are potions which can regain some of your hearts. There are potions which can damage certain types of enemies. There are swords which can attack in rows or columns. And I've only scratched the surface, and I've put about 25 hours into the game. Like I say, every night doing a couple of 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and before you know it, I'm on level 33 throughout the entirety of the game. Is about over 250 levels in this, from what I can see. Huge game, and there's lots of submissions and side missions, and these RPG elements, like I say, getting extra things, but there's blueprints you can collect from treasure chests as well. And this is another thing the kind of levels do. They've got 3 objectives. One is to kill a certain number of enemies, then the door opens, then you've got to attack the door within a certain amount of hits to bust out of the level, to successfully complete the level. The second objective then is this crowned coward. He normally takes about five hits to get, so you link 5 and then hit him in a specific colour. So he might pop down as red. You have to link 5 enemies of red, then hit him. You get a crown, and these crowns then can be spent on upgrading or unlocking submissions, or even finishing and unlocking the next area of 15 levels. These areas tend to be 15 levels deep. And the last one is a treasure chest. After you kind of bust the door open, the key to the treasure chest is dropped randomly on an enemy, and the treasure chest is dropped randomly somewhere in this 7x7 grid. You have to collect the key and then bust open the treasure chest. And the longer you spend on these kind of levels, the tougher enemies come. They start dropping in like enemies with 20 hits before you can beat them. It just gets more and more difficult and more intriguing. But the game has got this progression of you're earning something pretty much every time you play for 30 minutes. And it feels like one of those free-to-play games where you would pay money to speed things up. They've got it spot on. You'd never want to pay, if it was a kind of free-to-play game, you'd never want to spend money to kind of level up, because it feels that they're giving you the right equipment for when you get to the next level that you need to be there. So everything is balanced. You've always got a chance. And I just love how the mechanics work, and how I'm thinking about how I link all these enemies together, then crossing over, or because there's a lot of random things going on in the level. Every time you start it, the enemies are in different places. The grindstones drop in different places. But the kind of obstacles are always in the same place. And the kind of tough enemies that spawn in later as you get through the level, they tend to be the same kind of enemies. I just think it's a wonderful game. And there's also a little bit of a daily grind, as tying into Ollie Switch Stand's talk there. Online leaderboards which which kind of disappear too quick, unfortunately. They tend to be daily online leaderboards, which with there's no, you can't have an all-time high score to check with your friends. But if it was something like a future quiz that we needed to sort out the winner of, a daily grind would be perfect for it. Overall, one of the best puzzle games of this ilk I've ever played. And I was quite, when I played Pokemon Cafe Mix, I was quite, this is not too bad. Looking back on that now, this is in a different level. This is something else. So I was a little bit skeptical of his £10. It was on sale when it came out, first of all. It was like that 20% discount as usual. £10 asking price. Absolutely well worth it. Any takers?
I've got it on mobile, but I've not played it yet. So I will eventually, because you said it was free on Apple Arcade, and I checked and it was, so I downloaded it. Yeah. So I'll give it a go at some point eventually.
There is something else I've been trying out, and I sold my soul, as you know, on Discord. I joined Epic Store, but the only reason I joined Epic Store, I must have had an Epic account already from probably playing Fortnite on the Switch. Yeah. So I've already had an Epic account. So I basically just signed into the Epic Store on my PC, downloaded the player, because they were given a free copy of Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2 on there. Right. Except then you've got to download EA Origin, because it comes from EA Origin, and even though it's on the Epic Games Store, you've got to download the EA Origin to download it from EA Origin via the EA Origin to the Epic Games Store, right? Okay, so I got those two running in the background. Then when the game loads up, I can't get my Switch Pro controller to recognise the game. So I've got to right? I got Steam on anyway. I've got to load EA Origin up through Steam, because Steam recognizes a Switch Pro controller, which is then opening Epic Games Store, because that's where I bought the game. So I got these three, Steam, Epic and EA Origin, all running just to run this one game, which is just an absolute farce in the beginning anyway. And then, because for some reason, when I'm trying my Switch Pro controller on a Steam game, because I don't have many, but I have a few beta or whatever keys for Princess Battle Madeline when I reviewed it on the old website. Trying it on that works perfectly. Trying it then through Steam, through EA Origin, through Epic Store, and then trying to work my Switch Pro controller on Star Wars Battlefront 2 doesn't work. It's just going crazy. It's just pushing menus and pressing buttons and doing things that it shouldn't be doing. So after about 2 hours of trying to set this up, I just swear my head off, and I can't be bothered with PC games. So maybe it's a good thing.
Welcome to the future.
Yeah. Just plug and play. Come on, just let me use my controller. Amazing.
Well, to be fair, with Battlefront 2, you could give it a go with mouse and keyboard. If it's
I can't see the work of the mouse and keyboard. I'm sitting there with my mouse and nothing's working. I don't know if it's because of the EA Origin. I don't know what it is, but the EA Origin kind of interface compared to Steam is atrocious.
Yeah. To be fair, everything is on PC compared to Steam, but that's what 16 years of getting feedback and making improvements. That's what it does. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't have anything on my PC except Steam. Like, I deleted all the other. I had Ubisoft's Uplay or whatever it was. I had Origin as well briefly. I just got rid of them all because it's not worth it. Just clogging up space and clogging up memory. So
I most certainly won't have them popping up on my computer as I load it up. That's for sure. I've turned all that nonsense off. They're on there, but I don't know how long for. Whether or not I can actually get the Pro Controller to work through that 3-tiered system is another thing. Anyway. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.